Tap into the psychology of engagement and more. This is where we talk about life, learning, and everything in between. This is the Lifelong Podcast, a show for those of you who love to ask why. It's because we're marketers. It's because we're coaches. It's because we're change makers. Each week, we dive into the big questions and explore the psychology of engagement with strategies, tactics, and special guests along the way. Now, here's your guide, the visibility hacking queen herself, Coach Molle. Hey, visibility hackers, and welcome back to the Lifelong Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Molle from visibilityhacking.com. And as usual, it's an absolute pleasure. It's an honor. It's a joy to have you guys here. It's Thursday, which means must be time for another conversation, my favorite time of the week. And today I have two of my favorite people together with me here on the show. And they're part of that super secret society that I talk about being part of. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I want to introduce you to some of those cool super secret insiders. So yeah, who are you guys and what do you guys do?
Well, first of all, I should have worn my sweatshirt. Almost did. I didn't wear my gear today. We're like showing up unprepared.
Right?
Jeez, yeah. Remind me.
Oops.
Oh,
could have matched even.
I know. We all could have. Anyways, my name's Laura.
And I'm Zak.
And we run a business together that we're just, kind of getting our footing a little bit. So for people who have not yet who feel like they're kind of floundering a little bit, it's okay. The insiders will help you. But no, we also, right now, our primary stuff is we do have a podcast called Living to the Max, where we talk a lot about scaling your life and your business. And then we also own an agency where we help people create a lot of continuity hubs, as well as some content hubs, as well as crew hubs, which is like team hubs, training for your team. So we work a lot with systems, as well as getting and monetizing your message. So, yeah.
Nice. How'd you guys get into all of that stuff?
Oh my goodness. You want the long story or the short story?
Let's go with the short story so that we're planting seeds and people can come find you and learn more.
Perfect. Well, we have been, it's been like a long journey.
3 years? Ish.
Anywhere from 3 to 6 years, depending on what you count as the start of it.
The start is very subjective.
Very subjective. But, we kind of realized, there's another way to life other than the 9 to 5. We learned that differently, like each of us differently in different ways. And we just decided to start pursuing it. And then last year, things really got crazy when we went to Funnel Hacking Live and was like, oh my goodness, this world is awesome. And hired a couple of coaches, and it's been a journey of becoming, let me tell you that. Yep. So
and what has been the biggest challenge for you guys?
Becoming.
A little bit of becoming. I would say really getting into actually doing things like moving and instead of just consuming and learning, because there's so much information out there. It's easy to just get stuck in the trap of, I need to know the thing before I go do something. And it's like, no, you need to go do the thing. And then you'll learn something.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that with that, the same thing with your clarity and knowing what your niche is. We were talking about that a little bit before, but knowing what your niche is, we kept going, I don't know what our calling is. I don't know what we're supposed to do. And, so we kept learning. And then we kind of realized actually the insiders was part of that was, hey, as we do things, we're going to figure it out.
Right.
We were trying to figure it out before we did things. Well, it doesn't work so well.
Like, remember when we started doing all that movement work? And I don't know about you guys, but when I went through it the first time, I literally cried. I thought we were supposed to get all of that work done in a week. We were supposed to figure out what we were doing, who we were doing it with, what our list of our hit list was, what groups we're going into, get our group set up, get people into it. Like, what? I sat in the corner and I cried. I was like, I can't do this.
It feels so overwhelming sometimes, doesn't it? Like it's that whole, it's that age old quote that says you overestimate what you can do in a year and underestimate what you can do in 5 or 10 or whatever it is. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with a week. You overestimate what you can do in one, under what you can do in 5. And in 6 months, you've done like crazy cool things.
It's been great. It's been absolutely fantastic, but it's simply because we put in that motion. We decided that we were not just going to sit back and plan. Like, so Catherine Jones, Insiders program, she has these fantastic trainings. Now she's organizing them into a nice organized vault. But before, when they were like 6-hour trainings or 4-hour trainings, I would sit through them and write out my notes. And then I would go back the next time she did the same training or rewatch that training and go through it again and go, okay, did I really flesh it out? And then when she had the 2-day event, there was so much, it was all the same stuff, just presented in a different way with actual, this is what you need to be doing. And now then the written book came out and it was the same stuff, just with more detail. And so I just keep going through it. And it's like a wheel. It's once you get the motion, it just keeps going. And it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. Some of the biggest deals I've ever made in my whole life have been happening. And there was 3 months of crying almost every day going, this is incredibly overwhelming. Am I supposed to be here? Is this the right thing for me? It doesn't feel right to niche down so much. I want to help everyone, but then I was going too woo woo. And then I started just continuously connecting with people. Like, just keep connecting with people, just keep messaging them, just keep seeing what they're doing, just keep liking their posts, just stay in their visibility. And then eventually you create these networks. When you have these real relationships with people, you're like, wait, when Catherine says, listen to your people and understand what their problems are and create solutions, that's not a bad thing to do. That's a thing I do now with my business friends, where we sit and we chat and we're like, okay, what's going on in your business? How can I help? That's not a sales pitch. It's actually the most beautiful question you can ask in those kinds of relationships. And that to me was the biggest shift. Biggest.
Well, and what I hear you say, we have this joke, like when one of us feels overwhelmed and is crying in the corner, like you said, the other one's like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
That's right. Gotta do it.
Because, the people who succeed in this world are not necessarily the people who have the most time or the most credibility or the most whatever. It's the people who don't stop. And like, it's taken us a while to realize, like, that's the secret. Woo, that's the big secret. Don't stop. Like, keep, and not just don't stop, but while you're doing something, actually put yourself out there and do, like, actually do the things you're learning, even though it's scary, because you're like, but I might fail. Well, newsflash, you will, at least once. And that's okay.
So my question for you guys, since you guys are a couple that gets to work together and help each other out, and I just do this all by my lonesome with my virtual team, how do you guys divide up the work?
It's actually pretty simple
for us, because we are like different personalities, which is great. Can you guess which one's which? Who's the personality type?
So Laura's the creative idea
talker. You can say it.
Talks and
you
just
can say
like
it. He makes fun of me for talking.
Like, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? Oh, I know.
So you're the Russell Brunson.
I am. And he's the Todd Dickerson.
Right. And so she's like, how can we do this? And I'm like,
he's the problem solver, tech, IT guy.
Nice.
I have to think about that. And it's always this like long pause. And she's like, we have to be able to do it. And I'm like,
he was making fun of me the other day.
I have to think about it. Like, I can't give you an answer now.
He was making fun of me the other day because basically he's like, when you have an idea, you will move heaven and earth to make it happen. I go, well, until someone tells me it's impossible, it is not impossible.
Exactly. It's just a journey to find the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah, she bends the will of the world to her mercy.
Of course. I feel like you would do the same, wouldn't you, Molly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I go full steam until I reach an obstacle. And if I can't overcome the obstacle quickly, like I'm currently locked out of one of my accounts and, I have to wait for customer service. Well, then full brakes on that one. Then I pivot, just go full steam into something else until I can pivot back. And it's,
it works.
Otherwise, the momentum stops, and then I just want to spend the whole next week on the couch or something.
Right.
Crying in the corner,
So it's definitely an interesting dynamic. We definitely play off each other's strengths and
It's taken us a while to learn those, though. Like for couples who are just starting working with each other, it can be, sometimes you get frustrated with each other. Sometimes you like forget that you don't have to work all the time. So, there's things to work through. Luckily, we've had before we even got into entrepreneurship, we had our share of personal struggles, which was a blessing in disguise, where our relationship was able to grow exponentially through a very hard format, but it was able to. So
worked out well.
So it worked out well. So
we hashed out a lot of stuff early on. That,
we went through that whole like I hate you phase, but we didn't really. But you know what I mean. Before we hit this, so then once we hit entrepreneurship, it was already, we had laid the groundwork of all that. So it was not I hate you. It was you're frustrating me right now. So.
And the path that you're making is hopefully going to end you up on nice sunny beaches in Florida, right?
That would be the goal. I mean, we gotta join you when you're not in Canada. We don't want to go to Canada. No offense.
In the summer, it's absolutely gorgeous. But beyond in the winter, not so much.
Yeah. Well, I grew up not too far in upstate New York, in like the Rochester area.
Honestly, I think it's worse there than it is here, because you get the southern part of the lake effect snow. So there are days in Toronto where we watch the American news, which is always amusing to watch. Okay. It's as if Canada doesn't exist. It's as if the weather stops at the border, right? Because American weather maps are just the states. Canadian weather maps show context. So we're always watching the American news, and we're watching how much snow Buffalo would get. And we're sitting there going, they're getting like 6 inches. We're getting like nothing. This is great. And it's just because we're on the right side of the lake. Yep. That's it.
Yeah. But yes, Florida is sunny. We're in Ohio currently, which is, it's cloudy.
Gray.
It's gray.
Just call it gray.
Yeah, just call it gray. So he grew up here. I did not, but I was like, I'm moving south slowly, really slowly.
Eventually you'll make it there. And that's the coolest part of entrepreneurship, especially in the digital space, is like you can pick up and go anywhere. Once travel restrictions disappear, you can literally run your business from anywhere with an internet connection.
Yeah, for sure. I do have is it okay if I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I was going to say, how long have you been an entrepreneur? Would you have considered yourself an entrepreneur? And
I would say I started my first like official business that had like a website and transactions and customers and money in the bank would have been 2006. 2007 was my first online business. 2006 was my first in-person business.
Gotcha.
Like official business.
Like
and official. 6 figures. First 6 figures was 2011. Yeah. So it's been good.
So you're like professional here.
I've always either had like my own businesses that were relatively small, where it was like it was a playground. It was a side hustle. It was learning for me. But I never made a ton of money. But then when I got into the digital space, I started working for other people and realized like, wait, I can charge how much for this? Excuse me. And then 6 figures was from building a business with my dear friend, who he himself was an incredibly successful entrepreneur, he was a coder, and he was doing he had some proprietary technology that has to do with big printers and making sure that their color correction is correct. And then he sold that for lots of money and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you're fun. I like what you do. Let's do something together. So we started building. Yes, yeah, exactly. So I have a teaching background. So we started and he has a tech background. So, a little bit of backstory about him. He was adopted. So he's big into like helping kids who wouldn't necessarily have had certain situations and blah, blah, blah. So we created this drone company. So he would teach people how to build drones. I then became the instructional designer and did like all the marketing and that kind of stuff. And the cool part about it was he was having fun teaching the adults because he would run this like racing league in the evenings with the guys. And I was like, wait, can't we do the exact same thing for teenagers and like bring this into schools? Because teachers these days are not, no matter where you are in the world, you don't have, if you're in a publicly funded school, you don't have the luxury of having that kind of access to tech. And a lot of teachers are like, it's overwhelming to get them online to teach classes on Zoom, let alone like learn all the coding and stuff for that. But we can totally reach out to private partnerships and use industry partners and cool entrepreneurs that are doing cool stuff. So we started teaching high schoolers how to do drone race, like how to build and design and code their own drones. That's and then awesome. If they wanted to, they could be part of the drone racing team for their school. And we created a whole league of all of them. And it was
that's cool.
Like absolutely incredible. And I did it all. It was happening in Phoenix, in USA. And I was all here in Toronto in Canada. And it was so cool to be able to be so involved in this business and so far away at the same time. I loved it. Like
fun fact, we actually met working with middle school and high school students.
Doing what?
Youth ministry.
Yep.
I was middle school youth director, and
I was just a volunteer.
So I was like, anytime you mention high school students, middle school students, I go, oh yeah, like we have, definitely.
Yep, that is definitely a soft spot for me. Like my everything I do, I always think, how can I teach, or how can I inform, or how can I help shape that next generation? So like visibility hacking, right? Like we help people create their shows, get them online so that they have their stage where people can come hang out with them. And it's not just a podcast. It's like this deeper connection, deeper conversation, deeper community that they can build. And part of that is I want to create a league of people who have these awesome shows, because ultimately I want to create a network where we can create all these shows that show us particular part of the entrepreneurial journey that we're not seeing anywhere else. Yeah. So I think about reality TV shows like Survivor, for example. Survivor's been on for so many seasons that those strategies people were using in the first few seasons are drastically different than those who have been informed by 10, 20 years of the show, right? People are evolving how they see the game of it. So if we think about entrepreneurship and we think about business in that sense, well, what role model like media do we have? We have Shark Tank, which is great, but that requires you to have great numbers and already have success under the belt.
Right.
So that's not really meeting meeting that part of the market. We have shows like Young and the Restless, which is a completely different look on business, ? Like we don't have anything that's really teaching people about that struggle, like the ups and downs, and it's and in a way that isn't sensationalizing it like a reality TV mainstream TV show would be. So if Survivor can impact the view that an entire generation has on strategy games and relationship games, then can't we do that same thing with business? Because I want the kids who are in the school on the other side of the fence from my office here, I want them to grow up and get to my age and be like, oh yeah, I can start a business. And it does not matter what the color of their skin is. It does not matter what resources they have going into their venture. It doesn't matter where they live in the world. It doesn't matter their fit. Like none of that matters, because they know that there's other people who look like them. There's other people who go through those same kind of struggles. And here's a roadmap that you can live by.
Well, just to let them know it's a possibility, because like, let's be honest, like I think our culture has made it so that is not something, it's not a choice that people realize it's a choice. Like we didn't know, like when we got married almost 10 years ago, it was like, neither of us knew anything really about it. We just thought 9 to 5 American dream. That's the only thing you can do. And it's like, no, that is not, like, there's this whole other world. And when that started opening up to us, we're like, why do they not teach you this?
Yeah.
Like,
And it was
why is this not a possibility?
Right. And it was almost like anything that was like, you're going to start your own businesses. There's like all this, like,
one category.
be careful. And this, like,
It was always
so much,
brick and mortar.
And it was always brick and mortar. There's nobody talking about the digital
and you
space.
had to have venture capital, and you had to have all this other stuff. And then when we realized, like when we found this other stuff, we started with one funnel away challenge. We were just like, wait, what?
We could
There's
do
people
this.
who do this?
People do this? This is insane. Yeah. And then we just dove in from there. But yeah, I think we got tricked into thinking that.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah. And I think that's an issue for a lot of people. You get tricked into this,
it's a trap.
where can I make the most amount of money? And it must be corporate. It must be climbing the corporate ladder and, make sure you stay somewhere so you get extra vacation and bonuses and
it's the safe thing to do.
Yeah. And it's safe and it's partially fake. So,
and I think that's our opinion. The myth about entrepreneurship, I think is really solidified in the fact that we don't value entrepreneurship the way that we really need to. Like if we are sitting here complaining about the way that something like a corporate system sucks or this way that this process in the world works, or we lack a certain something in our society, well, honestly, it's entrepreneurs who are going to change that. It's entrepreneurs who have shaped the way that our society works. And right now we need corporations. We need people to do that work, but we also really need people to step up and go, how can I solve this problem? And entrepreneurs can work quicker and like way quicker, way better with their resources and can create solutions that are really tailored to that community way better than a corporation can. Like way better.
For sure.
He's in a corporation. He gets it. He's like, because he still is in his 9-to-5 job, and he still works at the corporate level. And he goes, there are some things that are so good about corporations that entrepreneurs need to input, institute. But then there's so many things that on the reverse side that entrepreneurs can do that have right that the corporations don't have right, and they're not going to bother to change. So that's one of the things that he likes to do, is bring the things that work and the systems that work from corporate to entrepreneurs with standard operating procedures and some of those other things. So.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so powerful when you tap into those systems that we know work. They're putting big money into it. And when you're able to translate that into solopreneurs and small business owners, the power that they have, it's like pouring jet fuel on a bonfire. It's
That's one of our big passions with, we work a lot with specialists, especially in the fitness industry and the nutrition industry. I have a background in nutrition as well. And so we have this desire just to help them reach more people and to separate their time from their money, because so many of them are stuck in the grind and they don't even get to do what they love to do because they're stuck doing all the
administrative stuff.
Oh my goodness. And it's not even,
they don't have systems to help alleviate some of that time burden from them.
And we want to free them to be who they were created to be and do the things that they were called to do originally, which is why they got into entrepreneurship to start with.
And why they're successful.
Because they're good at that stuff.
And then they got so good at the thing that they had all this burden of stuff come over, and they're like, I got to do both. And then they're, falling out from working 80 hours a week. And it's like, you guys need a break.
Yeah. And then when you're that exhausted and you're still trying to have that momentum in your business, when you're that exhausted, you're going to give up when you're in the most challenging part.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it's honestly when you're able to get up, and it's like you're on a road that goes up a mountain. It's really freaking hard to get up to the top of that mountain. But once you're on the top, it's like jet fuel on a bonfire coming down.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of at Funnel Hacking Live when Tony Robbins was up, and he did the same chat in 2020 that he did in 2019, but it's still impactful to listen to. But he talks about how there's those 3 different levels of business people. There's the operators and the owners and the investors, I think. I forget what the third one was.
I don't remember that one.
I did take notes, so.
I have it recorded somewhere.
We do too. Well, we got the recordings, but I don't even know where they are. So.
We could go find them. They're somewhere in there. I don't know. Dig that email out.
Are you guys planning on going for this year?
Absolutely.
Already signed up. Already have.
We bought tickets last year.
Me too.
Yeah. And we're like, and then they moved to Florida, and we were just like, yes, please, thank you.
So much easier.
So much, because my family's in Florida, so like we have a 7-year-old, and so like, and he's homeschooled and other things too.
It'd be easy. So we can just we can either
just
get them to come to the hotel
yeah.
with us or a close by hotel, and then they can all hang out, or we'll see how that works out. But
it's way easier with with all that.
You know what might be really interesting? If there's other people in Insiders who are going to FHL and they have kids. So renting like an Airbnb where all like the families can stay, and then seeing if like the non-funnel hacking spouses can stay back and watch the kids.
That's a fascinating
That would be
idea.
kind of cool.
Because then not only are the insiders getting to hang out with each other, but their kids get to hang out with each other.
It would be like one of those reality houses where all the insiders.
You have to get one that has like a slide inside and swings and all that stuff.
It would be like the one that
awesome.
Everybody's like, how'd you all do that?
What in the world?
It was Molly.
Is
She
going
hooked
on
us
over
up.
here?
Didn't you used to be a travel agent or something?
Yep.
So there you go. She hooked us up. It was all right. It's like the
One
insider.
day, I would love if we got to do an insiders cruise. Like just we
So
just have to wait a few years.
I was gonna say all your visibility hackers better sign up for the insiders too, so they can be on the cruise.
I'll just run the event at the same time.
There you
go. Double it up.
Mornings with Catherine's and evenings with Molly.
Perfect.
Oh man. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting. It's been an absolute blast.
Thank you for having us. We enjoyed our time.
How can people get into your world? How can they get to know you guys? How can they hang out with you guys? And how can they hear your podcast?
Oh, well, they can look up our podcast. It's, again, Living to the Max with Laura and Zak. And it should be on all the different podcast areas. I don't even know what you call those. The places you find
platforms.
The podcast.
Yeah, the podcast world, the platforms. They're right. And then the best way other than that is probably find us on Instagram, which is at Laura and Zak. And Zak, just so you know, he's weird. He spells it Z-A-K. So don't get into the trap of the C-H.
That's right. The C and the C-H always gets everybody.
No, Z-A-K. So Laura
C-H makes me sound like reminds me of like boy bands.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. What are those?
Look at that
what?
face. No.
Yeah. No.
Not in my repertoire of tricks.
No. Don't ask him to sing. Literally. Anyways.
So Laura and Zak, thank you guys so much for being on the show. And you guys listening at home, thank you guys so much as well. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a thumbs up, rate us, subscribe, share it with a friend. I know you want to share it with a friend. This is what all the cool kids are listening to. Just saying. All right, guys, I'm Coach Molle from visibilityhacking.com. This has been another fantastic lifelong conversation. I will see you in our next episode. Until then, remember I love you and be excellent to each other.